your toes and your knees are closer together. And in this way, your torso is really just laying across your thighs. The other way, though, for me, it seems like, particularly with the hip issue, your hips can sink deeper. And if you want to have loose hips or you want to loosen up your hips, I think that works the best. So, Seal, for your practice today, we're really going to think about hips. Let's go wide with the knees and just slowly ease your hips back, slowly ease your forehead down, and have your arms in a relaxed position. So the elbows are on the mat. And you can rock your forehead, giving your head a little massage. It feels good. And just notice your breath, just your normal breath today. Maybe you've had a busy day, or maybe you've had a restful day. Just notice your breath and set an intention for your practice. Maybe it's loosening up, or maybe it's ease, or maybe it's strength, whatever it is, something that you can return to. Maybe it's a little bit inspiring. And as you do that, press your hands into the mat and push your hands down into the mat and see if you can sink your hips a little bit deeper towards your heels. Breathing, and start your Ujjayi breath. That's the constricting of your throat to breathe in and out, making an audible sound of your breath. It's the reminder as we move through practice, and maybe our breath gets ragged at a certain moment. It's that audible reminder to return to breath. And if at any point in the practice you lose your breath, come back to this child's pose. Just take a moment or two. That's absolutely a good thing to do. Now bring your eye of your elbow. That's the part right opposite your elbow itself, and bring it up. Raise it up so it is pointing at the ceiling, and open your hands wide. Your fingers are wide, and press down again. Really stretch your back out. Maybe you can feel that in your lower back, and see if you can get your hips down a little bit deeper. And breathe here. Big, deep breaths in and out. On your next breath, come up into tabletop. Your hands are right underneath your shoulders. Shoulders into your shoulder socket. Straighten your back, and we do that by drawing the crown of our head towards the wall in front of us. Our knees are right underneath our hips, and you can look at your screen, and you can even pin yourself to your screen if you're wondering if you've got this pose right. Move your hands so that your pointer finger is at 12 o'clock. There's a lot of power in that L shape between your pointer finger and your thumb. Grip down with your pointer finger and your thumb and feel that power. Breathe here, and let's do some cat and cows. Really swivel your hips. So cow is where your booty is pointing up. You look up at your ceiling, and then round your back and come into cat. Drawing your chin to chest. Inhale up to cow. Exaggerate the swivel of your hips. Exhale into cat. Another time, into cow. Look up, booty up. Arch your back into cat. Exhale. Tuck your toes and come up on your knees. Come up, raise your knees up off your mat, just 2 inches. Bring your shoulders over your wrists. Breathe here. Engage your abdominal muscles. Feel that engagement. Breathe in and out. One more time. Breathe in and out and lower down. We're going to thread the needle. So I want you to bring your right hand up to the ceiling and look up at your thumb. Now bring that hand through your left arm. You can bend your left elbow and sink your right ear to the mat and try to get your right shoulder on the mat. Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. Your toes can be tucked or flat. And breathe here. It's a shoulder stretch, so try to make it so that you can feel this in your shoulder. Breathe in and out. Another breath in. And again, bring that hand up, bring it up overhead, look at it, draw it behind your back, and come into, and try to grab your hip with your right hand. So your right hand is grabbing your left hip. Again, bring that hand back up and bring it down. Breathe. Tuck your toes and lift your knees up off the mat, just 2 inches, drawing the crown of your head forward and breathe. Feel the strength. Engage your abdominal muscles. Breathe in again and lower down. We're going to thread the needle now on the other side. So bring your left arm up overhead. Maybe one side actually feels different than the other. Look up at your thumb and now thread that needle. Bring that hand through and lower your left ear. Maybe it touches the mat, maybe your shoulder does, maybe it doesn't. But just breathe here. If your hips are kicking out to the right, bring them so that they're aligned. Breathe in and out. Another breath in. And come up, bring that arm back up, look overhead. It's coming up overhead and look at your left thumb. Now draw that hand around behind you and grab your right hip with your left hand. Straighten out. Crown of head is forward. Good. Now bring that arm back up, look up, and bring that hand back down to the mat and do a couple rounds of cat-cow, really swiveling your hips as you tuck in for cat and expand for cow. Good. First down dog of the day. So move your hands a little bit forward on your mat. Again, your pointer fingers are straight ahead. In fact, let's stay here for a second. Let's stretch out our wrists a little bit. So I want you to place your palms face up, fingers facing each other. We're here, we're on our knees. And now I want you to bend your elbows, straighten your elbows, sink your hips down, keeping the back of your hand right on the mat. Come back up, bend your elbows again, straighten up, sink down, sink your hips down. Good. Now place your fingers facing your knees. You're on your back of your hands. This may feel intense. If it feels really intense, don't do it. If it's ouch, don't do it. Just back off. But if you can do it, try to sink your hips down a little bit. We're stretching out our wrists before we get into down dog. Maybe bend your elbows a little bit, bring in some release. Come up, sink back down a little bit. Maybe it's only a couple inches and come back up. Now place your palms on the mat and your fingers are facing the edge of your mat. Bend your elbows. Bring your elbows back up, sink your hips down, come back up, bend your elbows. Good. Now sit on your heels, come into hero pose. Extend your hands long in front of you like you're stalking somebody. Your fingers are facing the ceiling. We're going to open and close our fingers 30 times. Really accentuate the opening and closing. So you're really grabbing and expanding. We'll do it 30 times together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Good. So hopefully your hands are feeling a little bit better. Your wrists are feeling a little bit better and more able to get into our first down dog. So let's come into down dog. Pointer finger facing 12 o'clock and slowly bring your knees up and make any adjustments in terms of your stance and begin to pedal out your feet. Right and left heel, sinking towards your mat. Maybe it's making it down to the mat, maybe it's not. Doesn't matter. Point your toes to the left and sink your knees a lot, bending a lot. Big side body stretch on the left. Come high on your toes. Point them to the right and bend here. Big side body stretch. Breathe into it. Come high on your toes. Sink your heels down on an exhale. Inhale, high on your toes and tippy toe to the top of your mat. Lots of little teeny steps. We're really stretching out our toes. Come up on your fingertips as you come towards the top of your mat. Stay on your toes. Halfway lift. See if you can balance and do this. Straight back. Fingers to the mat. Breathe. Still on your toes. Try that again. Halfway lift. Straight back. Lower down. Sink your heels. Come up to mountain pose. Look ups. Really spark your fingers up and bring your hands to heart in prayer. We're going to start practice with the sound of 1 Om. So breathe in and exhale. Sorry. Breathe in and out. Really big breaths. Do it again. Breathe in and exhale. Breathe in again. Good. Look up, mountain pose. Dive down. Halfway lift. Really, it's a flat back. Stretch out the crown of your head. Really towards the front of the room. Really stretch. Now exhale and dive down. Mountain pose again. Come up, look up. Bring your left arm down. Your right hand stays lifted and bend over to the left, hinging at the waist. Your right tricep is right close to your right ear. Breathe here. Stretch. Breathe and stretch. Come back up. Lower that hand down. Now take your left hand up. Look up at that left hand and hinge over. Now that left tricep is right by your left ear. Bring some flex to your knees. Don't lock them out. Breathe in and out. And out. Breathe in and come up. Both hands up. Look up. Dive down. Halfway lift. And step back for high plank. Here we are in high plank. Roll forward a little bit. Your shoulders are right in their socket. Lower down halfway. Come up to upward facing dog and roll back for downward facing dog. When we do that chaturanga, which is this high plank to halfway down to upward facing dog, you can always put your knees on the mat. That's a perfectly good way of doing it. We're in downward facing dog. Pedal out. See if your heels can maybe come down a little bit more. Come high on your toes. Bend your knees and take a big step forward to the top of your mat. Lower down, halfway lift, straight back. Exhale and lower down and breathe in and come up to mountain pose. Dive down, halfway lift, and step back for high plank. So knees can be on the mat. You come forward, you lower halfway. You come up to upward facing dog and roll back to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Step forward and come into chair pose. I like using a block in between my thighs. That allows me to draw my thighs together, not touching. Your toes can be touching, just your toes, or they can be hip width distance. But the point of this child's pose is to sink. So on your inhale, you expand up. On your exhale, you sink down. You should be able to see your toes because your hips are going back, right? So then add your arms. Either you can come into cactus arms or your triceps right around your ears. And just breathe into this. So on the inhale, you expand. On the exhale, sink. And again, inhale, expand, exhale, sink. And one more breath in. Expand and sink and fold down. Half lift, fold down, and step back to downward facing dog. Breathe. In and out. Continue to pedal. In and out. Step your right foot forward for warrior one. So look at your alignment. You can either look at your screen or just look down at your leg. You want that right knee right over your ankle. And you may be able to bend your knee a little bit more than you think you can. So try to do that. Your left foot is at a 45-degree angle and the blade edge is really digging into the mat. Your hips, these tight hips, put your hands on your hips and give yourself a self-adjust. So I want you to draw your right hip back, not losing the bend to that right knee, and try to move your left hip forward. The point is that we want to get our hip bones facing the wall in front of us. And we want our shoulders in alignment with those hip bones. So just use these self-adjustments. I'm not there to help you, but you can help yourself. See if you can sink deeper into your front knee. Your pelvis is neutral, so you're not popping your booty out and you're not Michael Jacksoning it. You're just neutral. And it's tricky. This asks a lot of our hips and it helps us get open. So take your time to find your way with this, with these self-adjustments. Adjust your back foot and however it feels that you can get deeper into this. And only when you have your hips kind of in the position that they can be in, bring your arms up to cactus and then bring them up overhead so that your triceps are right near your ears, and breathe. Don't grip the mat with your front toes. You're not gripping with your toes. Release your toes and sink into this. This is a hip opener. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out and sink. And one more time, breathe in and out and sink. Pinwheel your hands to either side of your right foot and step that right foot back and come into downward facing dog. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Come high on your toes. On your exhale, bend your knees. If you stepped forward with your right foot last time, take that big step forward with your left foot this time. Step, and then have your right foot meet it. Come up to a halfway lift, straight back, and dive down. And come into that chair pose. So here we are. Blocks are good in between your thighs. Find that integrity. Your thighs are drawing together. Your butt is sinking back. You can see your toes. And only then do you add your arms. Maybe they're cactus arms. Maybe they're full over your head arms. Doesn't matter. Breathe and sink. Breathe and sink. Go 2 inches lower. One more breath in and sink. And forward fold. Good. Halfway lift. Step back to downward facing dog. If you like, I like doing this. This isn't a full chaturanga, but just roll forward so your shoulders are over your hands. I'm on my toes, but I'm bringing my chest through like upward facing dog, but I'm still on my toes. Breathe here, and then I roll back to downward facing dog. For me, that feels really good on my lower back. Breathe in and out. Another breath in and out. Step your left foot forward. We're coming into warrior one on this side. So let's do the same thing. Look at your alignment. Can you scooch your left toes forward a little bit to get into this deeper? The blade edge of your right foot is now digging into the mat there, but you're not gripping the mat with your toes. And use that adjustment, that self-adjustment. Put your hands on your hip. See that your pelvis is neutral. See if you can draw your left hip back and your right hip forward without losing the integrity of the bend in your left leg. Look straight ahead. Your shoulders are in line with your hips. Your crown of your head is drawing up to the ceiling. Breathe and sink. And then add the arms, perhaps starting with cactus and then straight up overhead. Breathe and sink. So on the inhale, you're expanding. On the exhale, you're sinking. One more breath in. And pinwheel your hands around that left foot. Step the left foot back. Come into that downward facing dog. Pedal your feet. Maybe your heels can reach the mat a little bit closer now. Do that roll forward again. Roll forward. Come through. Your chest is coming through like an upward facing dog. Move. And then using your abdominals, lift your hips and roll back. I don't know if that is really a yoga pose or move, but I love doing that. Breathe in and out. In and out. Step your right foot forward. Come into warrior two this time. So the legs are very similar. Perhaps your left leg is more at a 90-degree angle, meaning your toes are really facing the left side of your mat, not at that 45-degree angle that seems to be more common in warrior one. But we're still bending into that knee. The knee's right over the ankle, and you can see if you can scooch forward. Coming into this deeper, the deeper you come into this, the more of a hip opener it is. Our hips in warrior two are facing now the left side of your room. So the hips are facing the left, your shoulders are over your hip. And then when you get all that together, add your arms. Your arms are straight out in a T, parallel with one another. Your fingers are reaching for those opposite walls. The crown of your head is drawing up to the ceiling. And we do the breathe and sink thing again. So take a breath in, expand. Exhale, sink. Another breath in. Expand, exhale, sink. Reverse your warrior. Your right hand goes up, look up at your right thumb. Your left hand is going down your left thigh. There it is. And lightly place your right forearm on that bent right thigh and draw your left arm up for side angle. You're very light in that arm. You're barely placing it on the thigh. You're not dumping into it. And if you want to test to see that you're doing it, bring it actually off your thigh and extend it out in front of you. And now draw your left arm so that you're grazing your left ear with your left tricep. So that's extending the side angle. Your right arm can still be lifted or can be placed back down lightly on that thigh. And here again, we're breathing and sinking. We're breathing and sinking. Good, come back up to warrior two. Look straight over your right forefinger. And now I want you to bring your right toes around so they are facing now the left side of your mat. We're coming into wide leg forward fold, and we'll do some hip opening here. So here we are, your hands can be on your hip. Now we're looking, I'm facing the left side of my room. My toes are kind of pigeoned on the mat. They can be as wide or as narrow. The wider you go, the closer the crown of your head is going to come to the mat. But if you're not doing a headstand from here, it doesn't really matter. So hands on hip. In fact, clasp your hands behind your back and draw your shoulder blades together and down your back. So you're really getting that big shoulder stretch. Breathe in and out. And now bend forward. Your hands can still be clasped behind your back, but now they're coming up to the ceiling. Breathe here. This should be an intense stretch on the inside of your thighs, which is good. It also helps get the hips open. Breathe in and out. Now bring your hands down too so that they're on the mat. Your fingers can be facing either behind you, they can be facing the right wall, or they can be facing the left wall. Doesn't matter. And then I want you to bend your right knee and come up on your right toes and lift your left toes up to the ceiling. Your hands can be on the mat, or you can try to balance here, doesn't matter. Either way, but this is, again, this is extending and expanding that stretch in our legs. Good. Now come back up, straighten out your right leg and bend forward. And now do the same thing on the other side. So I want you to bend your left knee and extend your right toes so they're facing the ceiling. I'm on my left toes. So my right toes are up at the ceiling and I'm on my left toe. You can try to go place your left foot fully on the mat. That works too. But however you want to do it, doesn't matter. It can be on the left toes or your toe or your foot can be flat. But we're really getting that a big stretch on the inside of our right thigh here. And come back up to that forward fold position. Come up halfway lift, draw the crown of your head towards the left wall, and now sink down, fold down, and breathe. Good. And now come around, place your hands at the front of your mat. Your right foot is still bent, but now go back into downward facing dog. Bring that right foot back so it meets the left. Breathe here. And now step your left foot forward and come into warrior two on this side. So all those same cues, hands on hips. See if you can get your hips facing now the right wall. Your pelvis is neutral. Shoulders are over hip. Bend your left knee. Extend your arms up long in a T. They should be parallel and really reaching those opposite walls. Breathe in and out and sink. Breathe in and out and sink. One more time, in and out. Look down, your knee should not be collapsing in. Keep it right over your knee, right over your ankle. Breathe in and out and sink. Now reverse your warrior. Left hand goes up, right hand goes down your right leg. Look up at your fingers. And now side angle. Lightly place that left forearm on your bent left thigh and look up at your right thumb as it extends up towards the ceiling. Breathe here. And maybe see if you can raise your left hand as you extend your right arm so that your right tricep is right along your right ear for extended side angle. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Come back to warrior two. Good. And now we're going to do another version of a wide leg forward fold, only this is called goddess pose. So now our toes are going to be facing opposite corners of our mat. So again, you're going to play with how wide you want your feet to be apart. Here's the deal with goddess pose. You want to make sure that your knees are not collapsing in. So you can actually use another self-assist. Use your hands on your knees. You want your knees over your ankles. And again, this is a hip opener. Your pelvis is neutral. You're not popping it and you're not Michael Jacksoning it. You're going down. So keep your hands on your knees to make sure they don't collapse in. Maybe you realize that you can actually go a little wider Whatever stance, we're going to pulse 10 times. 1, 2, 3, go lower. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and come up. Good deal. Shake out your legs if you need to. Take a drink of water, wipe your brow, do whatever you need to, catch your breath. We're gonna do some balance, but we're definitely gonna do eagle because that's a hip opener in a balance pose. But first we're gonna come into a simple tree. What I want you to do is find a drishti point in front of you that's not moving and gaze at it. Feel your true north alignment. Your feet are firmly on the ground. You can feel all 4 corners of your feet. Bring the arches up. That engages your shins. Bring some bend to your knees. You don't want to lock your knees out. And your hips are right over your knees and your knees over your ankle. Now sit up tall. Draw your shoulders up and down your back. And breathe. Draw your chin back. And your ears are in line with your shoulders. Engage your abdominal muscles, and we do that by the sensation of zipping up your favorite pair of pants. It's that gentle tucking of your belly button towards the spine. And again, take any adjustments that you need to feel this full, strong Tadasana and true north alignment, which is really the basis of all standing poses. Breathe in and out, using your breath. I want you to raise your right foot up to hip height and grab your right knee with your right hand. Flex your right toes and draw your left arm out to the left. And now open your right knee up to the right. Breathe here. Hold and breathe. And bring that knee back to center and lower it down. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Find your drishti, find your breath, find your true north. Raise your left knee up to hip height, grab it with your left hand. Draw your right arm out to the right and open your left foot, your left knee over to the left, flexing your toes. And maybe you can draw your drishti around to look at your right thumb. If you fall out, you just come back into it. And lower down. Good job. We're going to now come into eagle. Eagle is a double bind. So I want you to find chair leg, and we're going to add the legs first. So once you're in a chair leg, meaning your butt is drawing back, you can look down and see your toes, find that drishti point. You want to have that gaze that just melts into that drishti point. Wrap your right leg around your left. If you can bring your right toes around to the inside of your left shin, good, or flex your toes on the outside of your left shin. Bring your hands to heart in prayer and sink into this. So we're expanding. Now wrap your right arm under your left, palms together. Breathe and sink. Draw your elbows up so they're in line with your shoulders, and you'll feel that big expansion in your shoulders. Breathe and sink. Breathe and sink. One more breath in and sink and come up out of it. Stand up look up, mountain, and now let's do the same thing on the other side. So find those chair legs and find your Trishna point. Wrap your left leg over your right. Toes can be flexed on the inside or the outside of that shin. And add your arms, left underneath right, palms together. Draw your elbows up in line with your shoulders. Breathe and sink. And come back up for standing pose. I want you to grab a block. We're gonna do half moon. And this is not a very graceful transition into half moon, but half moon is also a hip opener because we're stacking our hips. I do use a block, some people, and I practice floating my hand. So we'll do that together. So place the block. I like my block right where my shoulder, so my shoulders are right on top of the block, right? So you have a straight arm going down. Find that real strong. We're gonna start with our right, we're gonna raise our left foot. So our right foot's gonna stay on the ground. You wanna bring some bend into your knee, and actually we're gonna do a couple of knee dips here. So when you have your breath, I want you to place your hand on the block and simply raise your left leg up. As you're doing that, you're bringing your left arm up as well. So we're stacking our shoulders and we're stacking our hips. Your left toes are facing the left wall, so your hips are actually on top of one another. Bring some bend into your right knee and maybe bend your right knee and then straighten it a little bit, but not locking it. And I can see I've got to bring my left leg up a little bit more. Bend and up and come down. It's an intense pose. It really is, but I love it. We're going to do the other side. So make any adjustment that you need. Get that block in position. So now our left foot's going to be down. Find that strong left foot. Get get all sorted, and place your left hand on the block and draw your right leg up and your right arm up. By turning your toes, you really are starting to stack your hip. Try to bring your right leg up a little bit more because you actually want to make like one line between your toe and the crown of your head. Breathe here. Bend your left knee a little bit. Straighten it. Bend your left knee a little bit and straighten it. Breathe in, one more breath, and come out of it. Good job. Good stuff. Come down and let's meet in yogi squat. So yogi squat are the legs that we had when we did wide leg forward fold. Or no, in goddess pose, goddess pose. So your toes are facing opposite corners of the mat. You come down, you're pressing your knees away with your arms, but you're sitting up tall. Your foot is completely flat on the mat. You're drawing the crown of your head up. Your shoulders are expanding. Your knees are being pressed out. This is another hip opener. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. And now I want you to come around. We're going to come into a lunge. So step your left foot back and step your right foot forward. Bring your hands to the inside of your right foot. Your left knee can be straight or it can be down on the mat. It doesn't matter. That's not the concern of this pose. This is lizard lunge. We're going to lean our right shoulder into our right knee. And maybe you're going to actually scooch that right foot out so that the right edge is at the right side of your mat. But the point is we're leaning into that. And this pose right here has really helped my hips. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. One more breath in. Now, this is going to be a challenge. So I want you to come up. I want you to bring your left knee up off the mat. Bring your hands so that they're on either side of that right foot. Maybe scoot your right foot so it's more towards the middle, but you want your feet to be hip width distance apart. And I want you to slowly rise up into crescent lunge. You can start with your hands parallel and then bring them up overhead so your triceps are wrapping around your ears. Breathe here. You're high on your back toes. Breathe in. Bring your hands to heart in prayer and twist to the right. Stacking your shoulders, sinking into your front knee. Breathe here. Draw the crown of your head forward. If your torso is dumping onto that bent right thigh, bring it up. Don't let it dump there. And come back up into crescent. Good. And now downward facing dog. Step that right foot back and come into down dog. See if your feet feel any different, or if your heels maybe are a little bit closer to the ground. Breathe in and out. Breathe in. Now step your left foot forward, right between your hands. If you need to give an assist, just bring it. Give your ankle an assist. Sometimes I need an assist to actually get it closer to the front of my mat. Both hands are on the inside of your left foot. I'm shinning my left foot over so the left edge of my left foot is on the left side of the mat. I'm going to place my knee down, but you can keep your knee raised. And now lean into that left knee with your left shoulder. Breathe in and out. In and out. In and out. One more deep breath in. In and out. Good. Now bring that left foot a little bit closer to the middle of the mat. Raise, come up on your right toes, bring that knee up off the mat, and we're going to come into crescent lunge on this side. Just make sure your feet are hip width distance apart and come up slowly. Bring your arms up overhead. For crescent lunge, you're high on your back toes. Actually, you want your heel to be almost over your toes. Bring your hands to heart in prayer. Breathe here and sink. And now hook your right elbow around your left knee and come into twisting crescent. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. One more breath in and slowly come back up to crescent and step back to downward facing dog and breathe. Run your feet through and come onto your back. We're going to come into a bridge pose. We haven't done a lot of back bends, so we're going to start here kind of slow. So you're on your back, your feet are, your toes are straight ahead. You can graze your heels with your fingers. So your heels are pretty close to your body, but they're not touching your butt. Your arms are strong. They're absolutely flat on the mat, and your feet are strong. And it's the strength of your feet, your shins, and your arms that will lift your hips. But just lift your hips a little way up to start, okay? So on your next inhale, come up, maybe just a couple inches. Breathe here. Draw your thighs together. They're not touching, but they're drawing together. Your feet are absolutely flat on the mat. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out and lower down. If that felt okay, next time we come up, bring your hips up a little higher. So breathe in and out. On the next inhale, come up. Maybe you're coming up a little bit more on your shoulders, drawing your thighs together, but they're not touching. It's like what we do in chair. Breathe in and out. 3 more rounds of breath. And lower down. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. And now, our third back bend. I want you to come up a little bit higher yet. Using your feet and your arms, lift your hips. Breathe in. We'll do 5 rounds of breath here. If your butt is clenched, try to unclench it. Use your feet and your shin muscles and your arm muscles. Try not to use your butt muscles. And lower down. Good job. Bring your knees into your chest. Come into a little ball and massage your lower back. And rock and roll forward and come into downward facing dog. So we do that by, I hold the back of my knees and I just rock on the mat, up and down my spine, until I get momentum to come up on my toes and then come back into downward facing dog. Breathe here. Lift your right leg up behind you. Stamp the wall. Come up on your left toes. Swing that knee forward. Touch your nose. Kick it back. Exhale. Bring it forward. Touch your nose. Kick it back. Now bring it forward. Place that knee behind your right wrist and come into half pigeon. Scoot your left back. Flex your right toes. Scooch, 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 come onto your forearms. If this feels good, stay here. If you can, lower down all the way, bringing your forehead to the mat and stretching your arms out long in front of you. Your left toe can be flexed or flat, but you want your right toes to be flexed. And breathe. If your mind starts to wander, bring it back to that intention that you set at the beginning of practice. That act of drawing your mind back is what mindfulness is all about. One more breath in, and slowly make your way back to downward facing dog. Take a breath in, strong down dog. Now kick your left leg back, stamp the wall behind you, come up on your right toes, bring that knee to nose, kick it back. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, kick it back. Now bring that left knee right behind your left wrist. Ideally, your left shin is parallel with the front of your mat. Mine isn't even close to that, but that's ideal. And scoot your right leg back, lowering your hips down, coming onto your forearms. See how you feel here. If this is enough, stay here. If you can go lower, stretch your arms out long and bring your forehead to the mat. It's possible one side of your body feels quite different than the other. Maybe you can do your forearms on one side and maybe you can come all the way down on another, it doesn't matter. But you want to really have those left toes flexed. Your right toes can be flat or tucked, it doesn't matter. And breathe. One more breath in. And slowly make your way up. Now I want you to bring that right leg around and have it straight out in front of you. And bring your left knee up so it's bent at 90 degrees. And now place your left foot on the outside of your right knee. Sit up tall. Bring your right elbow to the outside of your left knee. Your fingers are facing the ceiling, and you can have your left hand behind your left hip. Sit up real tall and slowly turn your gaze to look over your left shoulder. Breathe here. Try not to dump into your left hand. And slowly unwind, maybe do a little counter stretch going and turning in the opposite direction. Now place both your legs long in front of you. Bring your fingers up to the ceiling and forward fold. Grab the soles of your feet with your fingertips if you can. You can have some bend into your knees. We're drawing our lower back forward. We're not rounding our back down. We're trying to lower that lower back and then draw the crown of your head towards your toes. Breathe in and out. And come up. Now place your right foot on the outside of your left knee. Your right knee is bent. Left elbow is on the outside of your right knee, and your right hand is down behind you. Fingertips up to the ceiling, and slowly turn your gaze over your right shoulder. Good. And slowly come back around, unwind, maybe do a little counter stretch. Good. Let's meet on our back in waterfall. Grab your block, place it under your sacrum so that your legs just pop up. Arms flat. We just want to get some of that blood flow back to our major organs. Your knees are right over your hips. Your toes can be flexed. Breathe. Rejuvenation. And slowly make your way out of that. Remove your block, and we're going to take Shavasana with Supta Baddha Konasana legs. So bring your legs into, so your feet are, the soles of your feet are together, your knees are bent, one hand at your belly, one hand at your heart. Close your eyes and take Shavasana in this pose. Just breathe and return to your natural breath. Bring some movement to your fingers and toes and roll onto your side, cradling your head in your arm, and take a few rounds of breath here. And slowly make your way up into a comfortable seated position with your eyes closed. Draw the crown of your head to the ceiling and bring your hands to heart in prayer. We'll end practice with the way we began, with the sound of one Om. Breathe in and out. Breathe in. In. Bring your thumb knuckles to your forehead and look up. The light in me honors the light in you. Together we bow and say, Namaste. Namaste.